Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Bolo Bolo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna. Everybody, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. One more time, one more time. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. One more time, everybody, everybody. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Louder, louder for me. One more time, one more time. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijak Acharya Astatara Satashi Shiman. His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinda Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Yagna Ki Jai, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Samaveda Bhaktivinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Dwarka is waving everyone forward already. If you could just take a few meters ahead of you, or 1 meter ahead of you, because people will come in at the back. Don't worry, we only let nice people here. Before we begin, Is anyone here for the first time? Please raise your hand. Thank you. Where are you from? Fort Worth. Your first time here. How long have you lived in Fort Worth? 2. Okay. Come again. And who else was here for the first time? Yes? Where are you from? Oh, you're all together. It's a family outing. That's nice. A family that prays together stays together. Oh, you're here for the first time? Oh, I didn't see your hand. From Chicago? Oh, wait a second, I'm not seeing all the hands. And how did you all decide to come? New York, how come you, New York, Mr. New York, how did you find out and decide to come here? Okay. Oh. Oh, very nice. There you go. You can always get a good meal and friendly people. Yeah. And you're from Chicago? What's that? Okay. Anyone else? I'm going to do a 180 scan this time so I don't miss anybody. Yes, and you're? Atlanta. Oh, wow. We got everybody from across the whole America here. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate your coming. This Hare Krishna movement is a very, very old process of understanding our eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This process is known as Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti means devotional or from the heart, and yoga means connecting. So this process of Bhakti Yoga is connecting our heart to that supreme entity from whom we all are part of. This Krishna consciousness movement has its base, comes from like 5,000 years ago when the Bhagavad Gita was spoken to Arjuna by Lord Shri Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And also, within the last 500 plus years, Krishna appeared as his own devotee in the form of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is none different than Krishna. But the difference is he's coming in the mood of Radha. The mood of Radha is very, very deep and very, very compassionate. It's stated that if one can get the okay or the blessings of Shri Shri Radha, one has instant entrance into the loving pastimes of Krishna. This movement was brought to America in 1965 by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is our founder Acharya. He came with nothing. And now we can see, just like our friend from New York, he goes from ISKCON to ISKCON to ISKCON to ISKCON, and he wouldn't have any place to go if it wasn't for Prabhupada making ISKCON. And so, when he first came, I was just listening to a lecture by him 2 days ago, and he said he had $10 in his pocket, but they were rupees. 1965, rupees weren't accepted in America. So that basically means he didn't have any money. When he came by a freight boat. He didn't come business class on Emirates Airlines. He didn't even get to come on a luxury, what do they call those cruise boats across the world? I had a friend that took his first semester of college. It's called a semester at sea. And you start in San Francisco and your first stop's Honolulu. Your next stop is Tokyo. Your next stop is Hong Kong. Your next stop is Singapore. Your next stop is Calcutta. And you just, when you're on the boat, you study, and when you're on shore, you investigate what your surroundings are and get some knowledge from traveling around the world. And so that was a luxury liner. Srila Prabhupada came on a freight ship, and they gave him one little small compartment on this ship. And he suffered 2 heart attacks on the way. And in his diary, he kept a diary every day while he was on the boat. Now they call it journaling. He was journaling back in the 60s. So he said, if the heart attack come one more time, I wouldn't make it. But then, when he went to sleep that night, he saw Krishna in a dream rowing the boat across the Atlantic Ocean. And the next day, the sea was as calm as the captain of the ship had ever seen the Atlantic in his entire life of 30, 40 years being a captain of a ship. Krishna calmed the Atlantic Ocean so he could make it. His first stop was Boston, where he first got off the name of the boat, Jaladuta, servant of Jala, servant of the water. And his first stop was Boston. So he got off. They walked around a little bit, most likely with the captain or someone. And he was quite stunned. He was quite, like, we can't use the word bewildered because saintly people don't usually get bewildered. But Arjuna became bewildered by Krishna's arrangement. And some Gazunta. God bless. When he got back on the ship, he put his pen to paper and wrote a poem in his diary. And he said, Krishna, I don't know why you have brought me to this place, so steeped in the mode of ignorance and passion that they'll never be able to hear the message of Sri Krishna or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How can it possibly be possible? How can it possibly, is that okay? How could it possibly be possible? And he said, but somehow or another, you've brought me to this place. And so if I meant to do something, then make me dance, make me dance, make me dance. He came, now next to New York, the boat went a ship. One thing I learned, never tell a sailor the ship is a boat. They get really upset. It's not a boat, it's a ship. You may go water skiing on a boat, but it's a ship. And he went to New York, and one family, Mr. Agarwal, who had married an American lady, hosted him at their house. Mr. Agarwal's father had sent a message, please sponsor this Swami, so he can get a passport to come, or what they call visa, to come to America. This boy's father had sent many invitation or requests from his son to make way for people, for these Swamis to come, but nobody made it. But Srila Prabhupada was there, and they sent a guide to take him onto the bus. He went to a place called Butler, Pennsylvania. In Butler, Pennsylvania, he began lecturing at the YMCA. He began lecturing, I think it was the Lions Club, or just different places. Somehow or another, he was able to find places to test. It's like a litmus test for acid or what is it? Anyway, you know what a litmus test. I haven't been in chemistry for 50 plus years, so excuse me. And he wanted to test the water to see, and he saw the Americans were quite God conscious. And as he went, when the family would take him on outings, he would see there are so many churches on every street. That means they have to have some faith in God. Otherwise, how can there be so much reverence being given to the Supreme Lord? Yeah, I think it's great too. She's pretty impressed with that one. So he went to New York City, and there was a yoga teacher, Dr. Mishra. He had a yoga place. And so he let Prabhupada stay there. He let Srila Prabhupada stay there for some time. And he had many students. And then the students started coming over to see Prabhupada, our founder. And Prabhupada started explaining things to him that God is a person. Dr. Mishra was saying, we're all one. We're all God. We just have to remove the veil and we'll actually understand that we're all God. That means nobody's God when you come down to it. And so the students began to become attracted to this philosophy of the fact that we're not this material body. This body is just a dress. I have this on and this, but it's just a dress for this body. And the body is just a dress for the soul. Vasamshi Jnani Vihani. Yeah. I just went over that verse this morning. That's why I forgot. And that describes that just like when our clothes get old and worn, we exchange them for new ones. Or if the fashion changes, we exchange them for a new fashion. In the same way, when this body's no longer able to sustain the presence of the soul exits this body. And just like if we exit this room, it doesn't mean that we don't exist anymore. It just means we exist in a different room. In the same way, when we exit this body, it doesn't mean that we don't exist anymore. It just means we exist in another body. We go from body to body as we go from room to room in this lifetime. And one who is sober, one who is a little sober, he understands this changing of the body is just nothing to do with us, the self, or we, the self, or me, the self. That's just a garment. And we can shed it very, very easily. It just takes knowledge to understand the nature of the soul and the nature of matter. There's a nice verse. I think I quoted this 2 weeks ago because Krishna gives an analytical study of the nature of the soul. And then he talks about Arjuna being a Kshatriya. And then he explains that you can use this knowledge. I'll give you knowledge further, which you can become free from all this material energy. So he describes nasato vijite bhavo, nabhavo vijite sataha. That matter is temporary and spirit is eternal. So we are not this material temporary body. We are the soul which resides within this body. What probably was given an example just a few days ago. I listened to a lecture every day for lunch. When I clean my house, I listen to a lecture, and it's just something to keep me occupied. And he was trying to explain to somebody, it was a room conversation, and he was trying to explain to somebody, the car is material, and the driver is spiritual. The driver is like the soul of the car, and the car is like the body that we have. And he was trying to ask the person, which is more important here, the car or the body? Which is more important, the car or the body? Thank you, the body. This person was having a little difficulty translating that because the body seems to be the same as the car for this person. So Prabhupada was patient, and he finally got it. We are the soul inside this car. And when this car becomes damaged, runs out of gas, gets smashed, or whatever may happen to the car, we get another one. That's called transmigration of the soul. We all transmigrate from one body to another. Now we're talking, Prabhupada, in New York, in the upper side of New York, where the Swami Mishra, Dr. Mishra lived. And so their students started coming, so he gave them a different room. He was a little, not upset, but just, my students are my students. Just, we'll give you your own place. And so he just kept going and going and going. And finally he ended up on the Bowery. 1965, 66, you can't imagine what the Bowery was like. He was going from house to house. Somebody would invite him, he'd stay till something happened. Go to the next house, stay until something happened. He was saying, I had to walk over drunk people on the staircase to get to my room. Here's a Bengali gentleman, born in a cultured, spiritual Vaishnava family, in the lower elements as you can get in the material world and the Bowery. But he got a few followers. And slowly, 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 they understood he needs a place. So they rented a little storefront on 22nd Avenue and a little apartment in the back. And that's the seed from which this Hare Krishna movement began. The seed is there. He got so many people to come. So many young people were looking for answers in 1965, 1966. If you weren't there, you won't know what it is. So much turmoil. I mean, it's a different type of turmoil now. 65 was another type of turmoil. You can't give me an age where there's not turmoil. That's the nature of this place. It's always in turmoil. But that was special because I was a young man at that time, so I thought it was the most important thing in the world. Vietnam War, civil rights, women's voice, so many different things were being broadcast to the youth, and the youth were broadcasting it to the world. And so here, at that time, the young people were casting away everything that their parents had taught them. Morality, different things, morality, spiritual things. It was just like, we don't want that anymore. We want to tune in, drop out, and turn on. That's what we're going to do. And in the middle of that, he established Krishna consciousness, which has 4 regulated principles. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, and no intoxication. And he convinced these young boys and girls that this is the purpose of life. There are 4 activities amongst the mammals and almost every living entity. We eat, we sleep, we mate, and we defend. The dog runs on 4 legs, and he eats, he sleeps, he mates, and he defends. And we go in 4 tires, and we eat, we sleep, we mate, and we defend. This is the first thing I ever read from the books. And Prabhupada said, what is the difference? I couldn't come up with an answer. Read the next sentence. There is no difference. One is polished and one is unpolished. We're not meant just to be a polished animal in this world. We're meant to understand our eternal relationship with that which we come from, which is Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha, which is eternal, full of knowledge, full of happiness, and has a spiritual form that doesn't disintegrate like this body does. That we can't change. You can't change the nature of material energy. 2 weeks ago, we were describing that this material energy is actually Krishna's energy, and it's a divine energy set up by him to satisfy those who want to rebel against the, what would you say, the aspect of God. This Bhagavad Gita is so steeped in knowledge. I have I was going to say young friend, but he's younger than me, but he's in his 40s and 50s. He's got a PhD. I can't even remember what it is, but he gave it up because he had an experiment with rats, and he didn't like it after he found out about the rats have consciousness and stuff like that. He started having empathy for those living entities. That living entity, that spirit soul inside the body of the rat is non-different than everybody sitting in this room. We have equal value. We just have different garments. Equal value. When you go home, tell your family and friends, we have equal value. Our value is the same as that of a rat. See how that goes over this week. But that's the truth. The person in knowledge he sees an elephant, a dog eater, a Brahmin. He sees them all on an equal level on the spiritual plane. And if we can have that spiritual vision, then we can understand that we're all part and parcel of God, and we're all brothers or sisters. And there's a commonality between each and every one of us. We fight and argue and, what would you say, enjoy simply because of this body in this world. My body doesn't like this kind of body. Your body doesn't like my kind of body. Don't tread on me, right? We just celebrated the 4th of July. We had a couple of happy birthdays that day. Like several people here born on the 4th of July. 1976, the founder of our society was in Washington, D.C. on the 200th anniversary of the founding of America, the Declaration of Independence. And he was explaining, this is the disease of the material world. We're trying to declare our independence from God. This day we should declare our dependency on that supreme being from whom we come from and whom we're related to and whom we have an eternal, loving service relationship to that's been ripped away by contact with this material energy. Durantia is the word. Prison cell. Prison cell. So it's so powerful. Rather than claiming our independence, we have to learn that we are all dependent on that supreme being. Air, water, ether, they all come from God. We can't exist without them. The fish in the water, he needs water to live. Krishna provides water. Earth, water, fire, air. Bhumir, apo, analo, vayu, kama, buddha, eva, cha. 8 separate material elements. So when we try to declare our independence on something that's giving us everything, we're going to lose the race. That's just how it works. But through this practice of loving devotional service, Prabhupada gives the analogy that our loving relationship with Krishna, the closest thing in this world, is a mother's love for the child. That's the closest. 2 weeks ago, I gave you the crocodile story. Anybody remember the crocodile story from 2 weeks ago? Yeah. Even the father's love. He jumped into a crocodile display to save his son who had jumped in. He didn't even fall in, he jumped in. Because the heart's given. And this is what the Supreme Lord is all about. He's about the heart. He's about loving relationships. When we can come into a relationship which is eternal, just like friendship. Friendships come and go, and come and go. But if we can make our life, which is described, molded in such a way that we never, ever are separate, our consciousness is never separated from the Supreme Being in a mood of loving reciprocation. Someone may say, how is it possible to do that when I'm an engineer, or I'm a student, or whatever I am? I'm working, I'm doing so many things. Prabhupada gave a wonderful analogy, very poignant. Children under 14, close your ears. Say, for example, you're married and you have a lover on the side. What do you think of all day long? You think of your lover on the side. Permeates our consciousness. When will I meet him or her? What do I have to do to keep myself from my spouse understanding that I have this so-called relationship going? How many young boys and girls fantasize that they love this one or they love that one, and they hide from the parents? Anyone who has teenage, maybe even younger, maybe being even older, they have these things. They may even have midday rendezvous at the 7-Eleven. Of course, Mr. Patel owns that, and he'll call your family. Sorry for the Gujaratis in the room. Secret. And when you have to keep it a secret, it becomes, you're possessed by that. You're possessed by that. So if we can once again align ourselves with our eternal, loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we can truly become joyful and be happy and satisfied. It's described in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that one who's not connected to Krishna through this process of bhakti yoga cannot have a controlled mind. The mind will be out of control. Anybody agree with your mind? I mean, you can kind of temper it, but it's never fully under our control of the self. That's why yoga says concentrate your intelligence and your mind and your senses on the core of the heart, the center of the heart, so that we can be free the mind from the flickering nature, chansalam. It's flickering. It goes from here to there, from here to there. That's why it says to do like this. So we give that relationship to Krishna. Sat Chit Ananda, again, Vigraha, eternal, full of knowledge, full of happiness, and in a spiritual realm which is surcharged with spiritual energy. We always have, I think I was mentioned this 2 weeks ago, we always have a decision to make. Decisions, decisions, decisions. She loves me not. She loves me not. I don't know if people from India pick daisies and pull the flowers out of them to see if the girl loves them. Do Indian boys and girls do that? Do they do that in India? I guess they're hiding them. Nobody wants to say yes because then he'll say, oh, he was like that. So we're always like that. This, that. Hankering and lamenting. Nasochiti, nakangshati. We're always in that duality. That's what the material world means, duality. Good, bad, hot, cold, nice, not nice. There's always an opposite side to everything in this world. But when we come in contact with this process of bhakti yoga, we have the key that can open up the unlimited nature of our eternal relationship with Krishna or God. It's the key. Bhaktyamam ame jananti. Through this process of bhakti, I can be understood. Through the process of bhakti, we're given a chance to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in any little way or big way that we can. And it is to do so. We have to accept that. We have to accept that duty. Because otherwise, we're not guaranteed anything in this world. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam chadyat yante kalevaram. At the end of the 7th chapter, Krishna is telling Arjuna that if you follow this process, that's the first chapter of Bhakti Yoga, chapter 7. At the end of the chapter, he says, by this, you can even know me at the time of death. Imagine. Did anybody here ever think of what it's going to be like when we are in transgression, they call it at the hospital? Where's our consciousness going to be? Arjuna asks, what is Brahman? What is material nature? What is karma? Who is it? What is the self? And how can somebody know you at the time of death? And Krishna tells Arjuna so much information. And finally he tells you, if you can think of me alone the time of death, you're sure to come to me without fail. Antya Kale. What is that first? Antya Kale. Yeah, Anta Kale. Just ourselves, just connected to Krishna. But if we're connected to something else, then yam yam vapi smaram bhavam chadgyatyante kalevaram. Whatever our mind is, wherever our consciousness is. The mind is like the TV set for the consciousness to go through, like the broadcasting system. Whatever's on our mind at that time, that's where we're going to go. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam chadgyatyante kalevaram. Smarna means remembering, whatever we're remembering at that time. To that state we're going to go. And Krishna says, without fail. Without fail. This is how it works. Of course, there's a little secret inside the Bhagavad Gita, because Krishna, Arjuna doesn't want to fight the battle. His military guru is there, his grandfather is there, his cousin brothers are there, his elders, his youngers, everybody's there. Huge fratricidal war. And he says, what will come of this? How can we enjoy if we kill everybody here? Sin will overcome us for doing this. The population will become ruined by the degradation of the population. So Arjuna wants to quit, and our Krishna is telling him, no, you have to. You have to. So when Arjuna is told by Krishna, if you think of me alone, then you'll come to me. But if you don't, you're going to go wherever you're thinking. And Arjuna's sitting there on the chariot thinking, how am I possibly going to think of just Krishna alone when I'm throwing arrows at such, what do you call it, generals, military, martial generals? My consciousness is going to be so focused. How can I possibly think of Krishna? Therefore, I'm thinking I should quit. He's thinking, but Krishna knows what he's thinking. Krishna knows our psychic movements. Be careful. Be careful. So Krishna tells Arjuna, therefore, always think of me and engage your body, mind, and intelligence in my service. Don't give up your situation in this material world. Just, what would you say, charge it up with spiritual knowledge. So that wherever we are, we can understand we are in the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's nowhere he doesn't exist, and there's nowhere we can go where he's not existing. We're surrounded by God. Surrounded by God. And yet we say, no. No. There's a little atheist in everyone. Isn't there? No. There was one young lady. She's not young yet. Well, of course, I can't say that. She's still young. She's under 40. When she was born in the Hare Krishna movement. And as every Hare Krishna person born in the Hare Krishna movement has to either decide to be a member of this society of Bhakti Yoga, or to just maybe be partially in, or this in, or that in, or completely out. And I was just listening to her speak recently, and she said when she was about, what was it, like young, it was either 12 or 13, or it was 17 and 18, she came to a question. Is Islam real? Is Christianity real? Is Krishna real? Is Buddha real? What's real? Is there something in between all these little things that we're not noticing that's actually really real? Then she had a spiritual experience, which is too long to explain, that showed her the truth. It's okay. The truth. Please, everyone, once again, one couple of feet forward so we can make arrangements for the rest of the partitioners. She had an experience which revealed to her the truths of the scriptures that we study. And it was an occasion where a relative was leaving the body, And there's two things. There's Vishnu Dutas, the servants of Vishnu, and there's Yamadutas. The Yamadutas are the assistants to Yamaraj, which is the tough person. He's the one that kind of checks our bank balance, our spiritual bank balance. And they have these ropes, and they have horrible features. And they're like goblins or like gremlins or something. And they come with ropes to pull the soul out of the body. They're servants of Yama, the agent. And her grandmother started going, "Who's that? Who is that?" And apparently one of her sisters had dyed her hair copper red. Like that. But they're everywhere. And Grandma, who had nothing to do with Krishna consciousness, can't say spiritual life, but we can say the faith of Krishna. And she told her daughter, "Give me those beads. I want these beads around your neck. I need these beads." Because somehow or another, through the intuition of the Paramatma within the heart, told her that if you wear these beads, these gremlins, these wicked people will go away. And that's described in the Shastra. This comes from the Tulsi. It's the sacred basil. And anyone who wears these is protected from the Yamadutas. And as soon as they put it on, she chilled. I mean, she didn't die, she just chilled. But she became favorable. So this confirmation from the scriptures convinced her that if all the bad things that it said in the scripture, then all the good things must be true also. And she signed on the dotted line. Sign up on the dotted line. So we all have the opportunity right here, right now, to sign on the dotted line. We just have to decide, am I willing to make that decision? Or do I want to wait until the ropes of the death are around my soul? What do I want to do? Krishna says, if you surrender unto him, he'll protect you from all sinful reactions and not to fear. Anybody here have no fear? It's like, pop, it can go. That happened. We have a japa group. We have a mantra meditation group. It's on Zoom, and it's in person and on Zoom. And one of the people in the room had a metal water bottle, and it fell off my bed onto the floor, and it went, "Pah!" Every one of us was like, "What was that?" And I said, "That's like the moment of death. What were you thinking of?" It happens. Even if you don't want it to happen. I was told that my father, when he was leaving the body, sat up and said, "I cannot stop this." So we have to be willing to sign in the dotted line. Because otherwise we won't have entry. That's the entry card. We either want the entry card or we don't want the entry card. And that decision is individual for everyone. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.